world of YouTube. Actually, horror stories, poems, and lyrics. Got some. I'm doing the aftermath on the video of Route 31. There's been a big alter in the story. I found some new news. I never thought I would ever find what I found, due to the fact that it was an old case, but the Commonwealth versus Clarence Dean is free, and you can find it on the web. And I'll tell you, it's a horror show, boy. When I say horror stories, I don't let you down. And I mean, I had two original pieces that I was gonna go over. That of my thoughts and theories of what happened that day. It was a kidnapping, alleged stabbing, and what I had is way off, of course. And just as the story gets more crazier by the minute. I'm gonna tell you time and time, you're in Clarence Dean's maze. You're not getting out until Taj is found. That's what I think. That's how I feel now. It's because how this maze twists and turns, there's no way out. You got a million questions to be answered, and you're never gonna get them answered. But that don't stop me from trying to get, everything pointed out the right way in this story, because you read a newspaper article and you're left with all these questions, and it's just nothing there, no answers. It's crazy. And the first thing I wanted to go over that I had to do with Annette, Taj's mother, claiming in the newspaper that Clarence Dean was making up unrealistic schemes to say to the police when they interviewed him again. And the paper says that it was 3 months after she, had this, was one of them feelings. What do you mean? So I came up with the thought and theory that they were home. It was 3 months later, like the paper says, and Clarence is rambling on about what? Coming up with some schemes, coming up with some, covering his tracks, as you would call it. And of course, Annette's probably sitting there thinking, well, if you're coming up with all this and you didn't have nothing to do with it, why would you have to come up with all this information? And that would have led to a kidnapping out of their house because of Clarence Dean's temper, as they claim, his, rude behavior that he had toward Taj, calling him the White King. So everything links together on this. A violent man. It doesn't say in the papers that he beat up Taj or Annette, but I know from personal experience in watching friends in my life in domestic abuse, violence, that is not a reasonable doubt in my mind that Clarence did everything that I say he's done. Now, getting enraged, taking Annette out of the house, driving through the back roads. I brought everyone through the other day, and still probably rambling on of what he has to say, and trying to, ignore the questions of what Annette's saying, or what are you talking about, what has happened to Taj, or whatnot, and all the things you would say yourself as a parent if someone were to come up to you and say, well, or I'm going to say to the cops that, yeah, I was over here at the time, and I was over there, and what more, how more stupid can you get into doing that and doing unrealistic schemes? So obviously through all the back roads and then down Route 31, like I showed you, he snapped, pulled over, threatening to kill her, stab her, whatever it took. But the question there also is, how did she get away? Well, how did she get out? How did she survive? It don't say it. And that's a question that needs to be answered. And like I said, I found the truth. My second thought to theory was, what if? What if? There's only one suspect they say in here, Clarence, but what if Annette was involved? What if she got, like I've been calling Clarence, manipulator, womanizer, brainwashing, you know, all them things that I look in his picture and see. A man that could smooth talk his way out of anything, smooth talk his way of getting Taj out of the way because of why you say. For one, like I said a couple videos back, jealousy. Jealous of Taj, mother relationship. The second would be Dean not wanting Taj involved in his new children's lives. There's a big step into getting rid of, a huge problem. I've lived with kids my own self from other parents. When my mother and father split up and they went into another relationship, I'll tell you, living with someone else's kids ain't fun. And I could see Dean all day brainwashing Annette, and there are women out there that, even to this day, that I think are young, dumb, naive, and I call it the I don't see syndrome. And these women get beat, they get cheated on, they get, all rude comments, and they stay with the man. Why? Is beyond me. It's because of the I don't see syndrome. I don't see him cheating. I don't see him doing this. I don't see him hitting me. I don't see him, whatever the case may be. I don't see syndrome kicks into some women, and that's bad. That's just ridiculous. And I think maybe Annette was one of them women to be, I don't see him kidnapping my son, or I don't see him killing him and burying him. I don't see him beating my son. I don't see. And Annette did give him, the comforts of going into his room that night before he came missing, and to tell him that everything was all right. So right there, letting him get back into his smooth talking ways of making amends with the boy, and then it leads to, oh, we need to get rid of him. So what if that did happen? What if? And this is what I was gonna say. I mean, like I said, this is not gonna be used, but it's not something that is happened. But if she did, it would be the fact that she got, why she made Clarence flip out would be the fact of, she, got spooked, scared, and wanted to bring Taj back from wherever maybe Clarence put him. She let him dispose of the body, or she let him get in there, and that could have been the case. But then she got, wanting it to change, and she didn't want to get involved, and she didn't want to do this or that, and reality set in. That's what I'm trying to say, and she got spooked. So she told Dean that she wanted Taj, if he did dispose of the body or whatever, and did all this, she wanted him back. And if he didn't, I'm gonna call the cops or whatever it took to get him back. And she didn't want to have it this way. I mean, that could have made Dean snap. They're going for a ride. They're going over it. Maybe, if she was flipping out in the house and thinking, oh, you did this, you did this. He said, I'll bring you to the body and then bring her out to the course 31, where it's also included, like I said. There's nobody out there in the middle of the night, and yeah, I'll bring you there and we'll get it done, but then tries killing her. But the question remains, how did she get away? And that leads me to disregard everything I've just said. I had to make sure it looked good, and that's where I came to the conclusion that I look up on that day of what happened, and it came up right away. One window here, one window there, and there it was. Commonwealth versus Clarence Dean. And I'll tell you, this ride gets more crazier. And I keep saying it, the man was a smooth talker. He was a smooth talker. I can see it in his picture. I've met people like him. He's a manipulator. He's a womanizer. If he wants to get his way, he gets his way. In this story I'm about to tell you, I'm not getting in too much detail, but I'm going to give you the rundown of it. And you're going to, pretty much shit when you hear what the judge and jury said about it. And I can tell you right now, due to the fact that Annette went with him on this day, they had doubt that it was even a kidnapping, and everything else that happened that day, they had doubt in it. That's how, it came about, and why it wasn't in the story up to date. Like I said, tossing away what I've just said, them are my thoughts and theories of why Clarence Dean snapped. But it ain't, and that's why I'm glad I looked it up like I was supposed to. And what really happened, she did not leave 3 months later. She did not listen to Clarence come up with unrealistic schemes. Whatever happened between the time of Taj's disappearance up until September 1981, she left. She did leave Clarence Dean. Now, I made a mistake in my other video I'd like to clear up. I had no resurrection or clue that DSS existed back in 1981, but I guess it does now. Because, of course, in my family, we were never involved. I mean, we had a lot of crazy shit in my family, don't get me wrong. And I mean, it's just only goes to show that DSS might have been around then, but they weren't as strict as today. Today you do something stupid. Oh, you gotta pee in a cup, you gotta go over behind the church, pee in a cup, you gotta go over here, take a drug test, you gotta go over there, you gotta go here, they come to your house. It's a whole, I mean, they don't take your kids most of the time unless it's a very extremely dangerous situation, but back then it should have been happening, but it wasn't. And yeah, when I tell you this, you're gonna friggin' eyes bug out of your head if you don't already know it. But left in September, she came back December to visit the parents, and it was the 28th of December. It must have been for Christmas time. Clarence somehow found out she was in town, called her up. Now back then, you would think a story like this and whatever happened in the time frame, and this guy's must got a record sheet. I don't know much of him. I mean, I could look him up on, but you have to pay for that kind of stuff, and I would love to see his record, but anyways, he had visitation rights from DSS to the court. So without expecting nothing, Annette had him pick her up, and they went to his, I guess, new apartment. He didn't say where, but he must have got a new apartment. And from there, at 10:30 a.m. till 10 p.m., it says that they talked all day. And honestly, what I think they were talking about, like I said, don't say it in the report. These are my thoughts and theories, because thinking of it and going through the story, this is what has had to have happened. He must have been trying to get her to come back home to him with his children, because she took the kids. She was gone from September to December. You know, it's 4 months or whatnot, and he must have been going stir crazy. Now, in my other videos, I've said that Clarence Dean, jealous person, jealous of Taj's relationship, jealous of whatever man looks at, and that he probably goes after. And now, for a fact, I can say this is one thing of my thoughts and theory that I've came up with just looking at his picture. When you hear this story, it clicks, it's a puzzle. He is jealous, and I'm gonna throw in there obsessed. Alright, and so about 10:30, obviously not getting Annette's, welcome back home, he got infuriated. Again infuriated. It led him to put Annette and their 2 children in his car and sped off in the night. Now racing up Route 2, Clarence decides to take the Route 31 exit, going into Princeton. The road I showed you. I don't know which turnoff, like I said, which one he went on, but he went to one of them heading towards Princeton, and there's at least 5 or 6 of them out there. Turned off and started choking Annette. Now, what I think he was choking her for, like I said, you need to come back home, you need to get my kids back here. And she was probably telling him, no, bring me home. The kids were screaming at this point, it said, and he got mad and drove off. Got back in the driver's seat. Stopped at another turnoff. Started choking her again. And this time, I guess she entered the back seat with the children, probably to try and calm them down. And Dean went after her. She started fighting back. He was choking her again, and she was trying to struggle her way to the front seat. He was behind her and grabbed the knife out of the glove box. Now, both of them, I guess, get in the front seat. He sticks her in the thigh with a knife, opens up a small wound. It's bleeding, but nothing deadly. Throws her head and her completely full body on his lap. Sticks the knife in her neck, in the back of the neck, I think it was the ear, in the back of the ear, and started driving. Now, from about 10:45 to about midnight, them back roads in Princeton, and I'm pretty sure the ones that I showed you, he zipped through all them roads, and they all connect. I've been on them roads before. Like I said, I've been out there with my wife before we started, seeing each other, drinking, partying as friends. And I went on a lot of them roads, and a lot of them connect to 140, on back to 140 this way, that way. It all connects in some way. And he drove around, like from 10:45 or 10:30, whenever he got to Route 31 in 2 hours, 10, 11, 12, and 2 hours he did this. must have been fighting, arguing, keeping the knife close to her. I mean, that's all I can see. It don't say it in the article, but I'm putting out forth what I see in my visions. So at midnight, he reaches Route 2, starts heading west, and he gets to, oh no, he gets back to Route 2, and by this time he's calmed down, I guess, and he tells Annette that he's gonna bring her to Leominster Hospital. And from there, he made it to Kmart parking lot. So from Route 31 back to Kmart parking lot, if the local people know what I'm talking about, and you can look it on the map if you want to check it out. But he stopped there, and I guess from there to there, he started up again. So not even bringing her to the hospital to get her wounds treated, went back on Route 2, whipped out towards, they sat there for a while, I guess. And she urinated in the car because he would not let her get out. Got back on Route 2, went out towards Orange, and then went off on a rest stop. Had handcuffs, may I mind you. Handcuffed her to him so she wouldn't get out of the car and run, and try to get a little sleep. Now by this time, who the hell knows what the kids must have been sleeping. They must have calmed down enough where the kids weren't sleeping, but by 8 a.m. he woke up. Got back on Route 2, heading west. Made it to Route 91. I've been on this highway to go to Agawam, where Six Flags used to be on Riverside. And I know that ride from Fitchburg to Agawam, Route 291 South, is a 2-hour ride. And he went to the Connecticut line. That's another hour and a half. He made it to the Connecticut line, stopped at some restaurant, and wouldn't you know that a cop, state trooper, and back then it's funny, not funny, but it's funny to think of this, but back then if you lost your license plate or it got stolen, you were allowed to make a cardboard license plate and put it on. And he was driving with one, and the cop, pulled him over and asked him why has he got a license plate. Now see, right here is another Clarence Dean, smooth talking, he got his way out of this. And it's just crazy how back then you could get away with a lot of things of unknown. And he told the cop whatever he told him. But I'm assure you that he told Annette that if you say anything about this, and like I said, she stayed with him, she did nothing, she didn't even talk to the cop, it said. But I'm sure for a fact that he told her, if you say something, I'll kill you, and I'll kill the cop and leave no witnesses. So he assured the cop that everything was alright, and the plate he probably lost, he's gonna hit the registry, whatever dumb excuse he came up with. But they ate, and on the way, and I guess at that time somewhere she urinated in the car again. But he hid back to 191 and started going north. Now instead of hitting Route 2, and by now the babies, it was 8 months I believe and 2 years. And the baby's been in the car since 10:30. It's now like probably noon, 1 o'clock, I don't know, something in that outrageous time. And it said that they were dirty, filthy, and needed changing. So he's going up 91 north. Where does he go? He doesn't go back on Route 2. He heads all the way to the Vermont border. Why he went there is beyond me. But it tells you why. I mean, it ain't beyond me. I mean, it tells you why. And he went up there and he went to hit a convenience store and got some diapers and some snacks for the kids and to eat for the ride. Then he goes back down south 91. Finally, he hits, you know, Route 2. And now, instead of going straight home, he's out in Everett, in the surrounding towns of Everett, driving around. And why is he driving around, you ask? Because he's afraid what the cops will do with him when he gets back. I should have thought of that dummy before you kidnapped him. So after driving around that many, I don't know, it was this long drive. He heads back Route 2 and he makes it to Gardner. So the Haywood Hospital he stops at. Again, I'm sure he told Annette, you say one word, I'm gonna kill you. I'll kill everybody, I'll kill you. Because when she went into the hospital for the stab wound in her thigh, cuts all around her. The doctor asked if she didn't tell him nothing. And that's another thing in the case. When this story came out, they had doubt. Like I said, they had doubt. And why? You know what they said about her wounds? That they were probably self-inflicted. That's how nuts it was. That's how nuts they were back then. So leaving the hospital, driving, back to Leominster now, finally, Clarence wants to make sure that he's not gonna get in trouble by the police. So he has Annette call Detective Plume. And this detective, I guess, was the head detective on her son's disappearance. So she calls him and says that she's alright, she's with Clarence, nothing's going on. And before you know it, they're back at his apartment. 24 hours. He makes it back to his apartment. 10:30 at night. The same time they left before. 24 hours. He was out with the kids and her. And that's what really happened on Route 31 on December 28, 1981. And, she left. She should have stayed gone, but the smooth talking Dean that I call, I know what he is. I can tell picture says 1,000 words. This guy had it. And whatever Annette did for loving with him, however they fell in love, however they were at home, don't want to get in details, but I mean, whatever she did it good, and he was obsessed. And also, I forgot to mention that when he first drove off with her in the car, and like I said, and I saved it to the end for the grand finale, was, obsessed, jealous. And you want to know why I say that too? Because, and it says it in this story, and like I said, I've been saying it all along. Jealousy. And now I know why. And he said when he took her out of the house and took off that he was going to kill her, kill himself, and destroy their family. Because he don't have nothing to live for no more. Because she took off on him. Now if that ain't a mind of a frickin' psychopath, what is? A lunatic. A fruitcake. And there's no doubt in my mind now, after I picked up this article, I'm not, the story in the article says that all set aside of what had happened like this, they just want to find Taj. But now you got more of a proof and evidence of this man, and they say, I found another, I was looking up missing persons the other day in the city of Fitchburg and Leominster. Taj's thing came up, and there is something in there that caught my eye, and it irritates me that they said it, that he could have ran away and got abducted from someone else. No chance in hell. Because of the story I just told you, what I've been saying about Dean all along, there's no doubt in my mind this man killed, got what he wanted, and got what he wanted out of the way. He got his woman and her child out of the way. That's what Clarence Dean wanted. He had 2 children of his own, and this instant family went into was just too much for him. The mother barn thing, I don't know where he was going with that, but I mean, I've heard wacky stories about mother son in the King Arthur days. You heard about the mother son, and the son killed the father to be with the mother, but I don't know. I ain't, that there's some wacky stuff out there like that, but I doubt that's the case. But it just goes to show, if you're thinking like a murderer and you think like him, that's the 6 things they're thinking of. And I've studied it, looked it up, and stuff like that. Like I say, it's just insane. And it's people like Clarence Dean that make people like me against him. You think you're crazy, I'll show you're crazy. Because when I was a kid and I had to deal with this stuff of my own self, I fought back, and I fought crazy. And that's why I'm so into this story. I've had an encounter. I think Taj wants me to find him, but also I was in his shoes. Like I said, I met him somewhere. And I would do it for my kids if they came up missing. I would do it for my wife if she came up missing. I would look to the ends of hell if this happened to my child. But I'm not ragging on nobody. I'm not here to rag anybody. I'm here to help Detective Abishon. It's the helps he needs to go find in his set of woods and where I think he is in my set of woods. And that's coming up in the next video. We will be going to, like I said, the Leominster Motor Inn, which is diagonal, yeah, I can't say that word right now, but if you were to stand behind the motel, dead directly center, and stood looking back out in their set of woods, that set of woods leads into the set of woods that I think Taj is. And I'm telling you, hopefully, this is it. And the help I'm giving Detective Abishon here, I'm hoping what I'm coming out with is helping him. And I mean, I think this should have been, this part of the story I know needs to be heard. It's in the paper, and it doesn't hurt to give a little info, but at least we know who we're dealing with. A maniac, a lunatic, and there's no doubt in my mind. And if I was to sit in front of Clarence Dean today, I think I'd get something out of him. I mean, you gotta think like this person to get something out of it. You gotta talk his lingo. And from what I've learned and studied and dealt with my own personal issues, I've had people, I'll tell you something right here. I just, what I do to mess with people like Clarence Dean, I had a person, when my brother used to live with me, and my brother's an outcast, he's a crazy, he was born in the Clarence Dean age and time, and he's pretty much almost, I could say, in his time frame. Nuts, crazy. But he was living in my room because he had nowhere to go. He's the type of brother that, lives off the streets, survivor type thing like that, but stays heavy into drugs. And he had a friend over, and this friend was just a loudmouth punk, and I hated his guts. But I don't know, he just came over one night, and I'm laying on my bed watching TV, And just to give you a small example of what I dealt with in my life, the dude lights up a lighter and sets it near my foot. Now I have socks on and it's getting hot. And I sat there and I stared into his face of a dead cold stare. And I didn't flinch, didn't move my foot for nothing. You could see where the sock got black from the heat. And my brother said, oh man, you might not want to fuck with him right now. Yeah, you might not want to do that. And the dude said, wow. And then he even said it. The guy was like, whoa, whoa, that don't hurt. And I'm like, I just shook my head and said, well, what are you going to do? What's it supposed to do? And I mean, like I said, the mental state, I can go about doing things like that. But I don't want to blow off on the story and get derailed here. But next session, we're going to be over at the Limits to Motor Inn. I'm going to show you a drive around of the woods and everything. And then the last session of this documentary will bring you right actually in the set of woods where I think Taj is. Until then, we'll see you on the next video, and hopefully another missing kid found. Thank you, YouTube, and see you on the next one.